We're back with the Guest List podcast. Thank all of you guys for tuning in. We're catching a lot of flow and a lot of traffic. Looking at you, YouTube, make sure you guys hit subscribe and that little like button so we can get everything trending. And also make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Amazon is now in the game, and Google. And there's about a dozen or two other ones. So make sure you guys all subscribed, get those downloads. And so we can blast off, as we say, one moon, baby. As for the show, this has been an audience member referral. So thank all of you guys for sending me all of these lovely intellectuals. I know this conversation is going to be fantastic. She is the founder of Flow Massage Therapy. And without further ado, Miss Jennifer T.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate you for coming on. As we were talking about before, I was a kinesiology major, so massage therapy, I've always kind of my knowledge around it has always been a little circular, not so much in depth and the knowledge that I've seen like on your website, but it's always been something of an interest.
Thank you very, very much. It takes a lot of practice on a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
To get the ability to read and feel, what the body has to do and what the body has to say to you.
I'm interested how you came onto massage therapy, because as I was looking down your LinkedIn profile, you have quite a history in the financial systems background up into New York. So let's go backwards before we go forwards.
Okay.
So give everyone let's go build some context and do like maybe a 2 to 3 minute introduction of who Jennifer T is and how you ended up in Las Vegas.
Okay. Jennifer T is now a medical and sports massage therapist here in Las Vegas, originally from the East Coast, New York City, and upstate New York. Yay, yay. And I actually, coming to Las Vegas, came full circle, because when I first started off in school, I was supposed to be a pre-med and a doctor. But something led me away from that and pushed me to Wall Street. So I spent 25 years in Wall Street trading currencies for the world and large corporations and countries and stuff like that. Speak Spanish, Portuguese, and some French fluently. And I came here to Las Vegas, and I've been coming in and out of Las Vegas now for, I'd say, over 30 years, because I have family here. And I finally made a move here permanently in 2011 to take care of my mother. So I had to figure out something to do, because there was nothing to do here in finance. And I was working part-time at an adult daycare. And a woman kept coming up to me saying, "Please touch me here, please touch me here." And I didn't understand what she meant until she started sending all her friends to come and have me touch them in certain places. And I said, "Why do you do that?" And she said, "Because when you touch me, I feel better." And a light bulb went off in my head, and I went to massage school. And after the first day in class, I realized, okay, I belong. And since then, it's been an adventure.
It's that combination of touch, as we can see with humans, right? Like with everything that's been going on with coronavirus, they want to get rid of handshakes because that assists in spreading coronavirus and the spread. But when you give someone a handshake, that's like the most profound connection you can have with a human, is that sense of neurons that are at the end of the fingertips, and it gives you that pleasurable feeling that you're connecting with someone on an intimate level without speaking.
Absolutely true. And also the intention of love, the intention of healing, the intention of joy, whatever you're feeling goes from your hands right into the body.
It's weird. There's so many nuanced feelings and neurotransmitters, neurons, skin follicles, everything that goes into an interaction that isn't just verbal.
Absolutely.
And then you can translate that into massage therapy. And the massage therapy that you do, when I was reading off your website, It said that you assisted people that had some sort of neuromuscular disability and like the elderly. And so the kind of massage therapy that you do isn't just like a typical recreational, correct?
The recreational massage therapy I do is very also deep, okay, in touch and in feeling. I find that I learn the most and I get the most reward when I work with somebody who maybe has had a stroke, somebody who is suffering from Alzheimer's, somebody who has challenges with Parkinson's, or even severe car accidents, where they feel pain and they feel tingling or they feel something that is totally uncomfortable, and Western medicine can't figure it out. And so I go in and try to feel my way through their body to find what it is that needs to be released.
Why do you think it is that Western medicine can't figure that out? Is it because Western medicine tries to prescribe some sort of pharmaceutical pill for the most of the time, and this is something that pills or chemical imbalances can't fix?
For a lot of reasons, I just feel that Western medicine is really, really good for traumatic issues. Like, if you're dying of cancer and, you're in stage 4 or, you're in a head-on collision, Western medicine is fantastic for that. But what I'm doing is preventative. So it's a little bit every single day. It's awareness and thoughtfulness in what we do, in what we eat. You are what you eat. So if you eat Cheetos and Doritos, nothing against Cheetos and Doritos because I love Doritos.
Cheetos, baby.
Yeah. Every single day, your body's going to react a certain way as opposed to eating fresh vegetables and an apple. So what I do with people is try to review their whole life and then see how that translates into their body and then make some suggestions for them to get on a better road, based upon what I feel in their muscles. Mm-hmm. And it's not stuff that costs a lot of money or takes a lot of time. It's just reminding you, well, when you were a kid, your mother did this for you. And it felt good. So you need to do that for yourself again.
When you're going and when you go in on a massage and you're feeling around for the muscles, what are you typically trying to feel for? Is there some sort of muscular difference in the levels? Is there bumps? What are you typically going in there for?
Looking for muscular differences. I'm looking for muscular levels of mobility. I'm looking for anything hot, hard, or red.
Or red. What does that mean?
Usually the body will react. And just like when somebody speaks to you and they say something that you find a little embarrassing for yourself, you blush, right?
Right.
Okay, so your body will blush that way. When I touch a certain spot and rub it, that area will turn red. And that is like an indication to me, I'm in the right spot. Or I'm in one of the many right spots. Let's start to work this out. So hot, hard, and red.
I didn't even think about that before. You could do it. I'm just a typical gym rat. I just go in and stretch, probably not enough, and just go in there and lift weights. But the tightness is definitely there, especially last year I had a membership to True Fusion, and I'd go in and try to do yoga, and I looked like a fool. Couldn't stretch anywhere. could not get into just a basic, I don't know what's it called, the samurai pose or something like that. I'm probably going to get yelled at for not even knowing that, but.
Well, I can show you a few things.
How important is stretching as far as building mobility and in the preventative medicine space?
For me, mobility, AKA range of motion, is key. If you don't have that range of motion, chances are you're cutting off your own blood flow, your own circulation.
Okay.
So one thing massage is really great for is to restore circulation throughout the body. Okay.
Okay.
That's number one. But number two is if you don't have that range of motion, then what ends up happening is that you start compensating for that lack of range of motion. And when you start compensating and then compensating and compensating, what started off as, let's say, a small like disturbance in your shoulder ends up maybe producing a tight pec over here or tight traps over here because maybe you've contorted your body in a certain way, or ultimately could lead to a frozen shoulder. Oh. So all of these things are preventable through awareness, posture, and just opening up your body. So stretching is really, really key. So with any client I have, old or young, I show them some basic stretches that they can do lying in bed, and they just have to hang out there for like 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes 7 minutes. And it's what they need, basically, to move around and maintain circulation.
Okay, that makes sense. I want to stay on track of preventative medicine because I know there's a few different variables that go into that as well. And preventative medicine is probably the most important aspect to longevity and living longer. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying about Western medicine. Western medicine is really good at coming in and fixing an issue that's been built up for decades long. And that's something that America specifically is plagued by is, obesity and coronary heart disease because they're not being preventative about their health and their nutrition. Mm-hmm. They're just like, feed me now, eat now, constant gratification.
Right.
And working out in the gym, that's one variable, strength training, stretching,
right,
nutrition. And then you go into more of these like homeopathic remedies as well as like massage therapy is one of those modalities specifically that assists in preventative measures, but isn't as much in the mainstream as you would think it should be.
It's not so much in the mainstream, you're right, but in certain places it is. Like, for example, Washington State. Everybody gets part of their health plan, a massage every month, okay? That's great. Here in Las Vegas, people are aware of it too. They know something's not right. And a lot of people in this area do subscribe to massage therapy. Same thing in California. Maybe it's more of a West Coast thing than an East Coast thing. But I found people to be extremely receptive here.
How often would you say is an adequate amount of massage therapy per month? How many sessions do you think would be a decent number to maintain the level that you're at?
Usually when a client comes to me, they're really, really like all bound up. And I say to them, listen, once a week with me, do some of the basic exercises I've shown you. And it'll be once a week with me for maybe 4 weeks. And then after that, once every other week. Why? Because I'm trying to build up a habit with them, a good habit, so that they can do these things by themselves. And then after that, once a month, just for me to like do a little check and maybe tweak some of their exercises. But I try to give people ways that they can heal themselves, that I don't have to always come in and put my hands on them, sort of thing. If you're a stroke patient that's recently just recently had the stroke, and this is what sort of led me on this path. My first full-on client had a massive stroke and his wife called me.
Jen, can you pull that mic closer to your face a little bit? Just pull it closer. There you go.
My first client was actually a stroke patient. He had a stroke 2 days before, and his wife was referred to me. And I worked on him 4 days a week for an hour, really hard, to try to get like all those neurotransmitters and the nervous system and circulation like pumping and going, in his healing process. And that was key. And I did that for like 6 weeks. And then after that, started dropping off. And I hear from his wife, he walked out of the rehab center.
Wow.
I don't know if he's dancing like he was before, but he walked out of the rehab center.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And the thing is that it's something that they can do. You just have to give somebody hope. Just like having a military vet come back with physical impairments, working with them so that they could relearn to redo and relive.
Interesting. Do you think one of the common denominators in terms of, I guess, tightness is that people aren't aware that these kind of, I think it's, lactic acid that builds up in your muscles, is that there isn't that much awareness that these kind of muscles can tighten, and the ligaments and everything in the body needs some sort of constant stimulus to prevent that kind of buildup.
It's not just a lactic acid buildup. It's actually bad posture. Look at me. If I was to sit like, hold on. If I was to sit like this all day long, okay, what is it doing? It's shortening my pecs. It's overstretching my traps, and also overstretching my lower back. When you sit up and you have good posture, all your muscles, all these rubber bands do what they're supposed to do. And they equally share the load and the work. But any sort of bad posture starts to stretch one side, starts to loosen the other side, starts to tighten everything else. And then you sit there and go, oh my God, I feel old. It's not age. It's lack of fluid, blood, the WD-40 of life.
Ooh. I like to call, I forgot what I was about to say. It's super funny. But yeah, going back on posture, literally, as you said that, I had to like fix my posture a little bit. So I go chest out, make your shoulders broad, tuck your back in a little bit. I think that's something that plagues most people, because you see that like rounded back often because of, I think it's kind of exacerbated by office jobs, those 9-to-5 jobs.
Very true. And one of the toughest things for me to do is to go into a gym and look at all these really, really built guys, but they're like this.
Yes.
As opposed to like this.
Yeah.
Because even when you go into competition, you're supposed to be like this, not like this.
And that assists with your breathing as well.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So when I have a guy who's had lung cancer and only has one lung, it's when I look at his posture and he can't breathe very well, I'm like, stand up straight, head up, do this. And then he goes, oh, wow, that's easier. I'm like, yes, it's easier.
Yeah, that's something with form and posture when I'm lifting in the gym. For upper body exercises, something that I always forget is that you're supposed to like tuck your shoulder blades together and make sure that you have like good posture.
And gently tighten your abs.
Yeah, that's the core. That's the one of the few muscle groups that you can consistently work out the majority of the week.
Exactly.
Because it is your core strength.
But people forget it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And when they forget that, that's where they exacerbate any lower back issues.
Interesting. As far as another modality, do you offer prescriptions for nutritional advice or anything surrounding food? Because I know that is also one of the biggest common denominators in terms of preventative medicine, as we're talking about like coronary heart disease and a bunch of different overweight complications that stem from it.
One of the biggest things, I'm not a nutritionist, but I read a lot. One of the biggest things that I find lacking in a lot of people's diets is water.
Yes.
People do not drink enough water. And they laugh at me when I say to them, a gallon, 2 gallons. I mean, it's 115 degrees outside and you're not drinking water. And funny enough, a couple of years ago, my mother gave herself a mild coronary because she was dehydrated. So the number one thing I always say to them is water. And people even say to me, I don't like drinking water. And I'm like, really? Then put a squeeze of lemon in it, lime, put strawberries in it, do whatever you need to do, but it's just plain water.
Is it still recommended 12-ounce glasses a day?
I actually recommend a lot more than that.
More. So a gallon a day?
Gallon and a half, maybe 2 gallons. It depends if you're really, really active. So I'm a triathlete.
Oh, wow.
So you have to drink a lot of water pre and post. Okay. So me drinking 2 gallons a day is not a big deal. If you go into a cycling class, I expect you to drink at least 4 or 5 of these glasses if you're working out to that level that the instructor is telling you to do. So there goes your 12 glasses a day.
I do want to note too that when Jenn came in, I offered to pour a glass of water. She said, "Pour that baby right up to the brim."
Right up to the top. It's like
now it all makes sense.
And then the other thing is this: I just say to them, eat things that are fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. Why are you having a fruit cup when we're here in Las Vegas? We get everything from California, Arizona, wherever. So instead of having applesauce, eat that apple.
Yep.
Instead of having frozen vegetables, get real vegetables.
I buy fruit and then put it in the freezer.
And that's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's still fresh as opposed to being processed along the way. Okay? And, I try to encourage a lot of my clients to eat less processed food.
It's one of the primary causes of cancer.
Pretty much. All the additives, all the preservatives, those are not natural to nature. And so our body doesn't know how to digest it.
Yeah, there's a lot of indigestible ingredients and a lot of these non-FDA regulated supplements and drinks, like with Red Bull, you have
I don't even know what that's.
You have aspartame, which is indigestible and causes bad stomach aches. That's why I don't drink energy drinks anymore. I had a friend who actually almost died from drinking energy drinks. He had a lacerated liver and infected his kidney.
That's serious.
Yeah, he was drinking 3 Monsters a day for a little over a year.
That's, yeah.
That turned me off completely from it. I'll have an energy drink maybe once every 6 months if I'm out and about or something like that, but I really try to stay away from it.
Yeah, and they're addictive. And they're addictive because the caffeine rush and the sugar rush. Mm-hmm. So, and plus when you eat a lot of fresh vegetables and just fresh things, your body gets what it needs in the quantities that it can manage. But if you go out there and get 6 smoothies a day, huge smoothies, first of all, you'd never eat 6 apples in one sitting. You'd never eat 6 oranges in one sitting. And that's just way too much. And so if you stick to that freshness sort of idea, it naturally starts to cut down on obesity.
It does. Have you ever seen that picture? I'm sure you probably have the picture online where it's 500 calories of meat and then 500 calories of vegetables, and it's inside of a stomach.
Absolutely.
And it's the stomach's overloaded with vegetables, and then it's just a small piece of meat in the stomach.
Exactly. And it's harder on your stomach to digest that piece of meat than it is to graze with vegetables and fruits. Even a piece of bread, it's okay. Just make it natural. And there are so many outlets here in Las Vegas to get really great fresh food with minimal amounts of preservatives or additives.
There's so much misinformation out there. They're in the, what was this? when the Atkins diet was around, it was the war on fats, which we've come to find out is the complete opposite. You need fats. And now it's kind of the war on carbs, because they say that, you can drop a lot of weight really fast if you go on keto and some of these other carnivore diets and things like that. But your body actually needs carbs.
Well, you know what? You can drop a lot of weight on all that stuff. The issue people have is they can't keep it off. So when I'm working with a client and, they tell me what they eat, I just suggest, hey, so instead of having 7 Starbucks venti frappuccinos a week, have 4. And they're like, oh, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it, because that's so many calories, so much sugar, etc. So they get used to only having 4. Then I say, bring it down to 2, and then bring it down to 1. So when that becomes comfortable for them and more of a habit, then we go to the next thing.
Slowly weeds them out.
It slowly weeds them out, but that 7 frappuccinos a week down to 1 is at least 10 pounds. 10 pounds lost and kept off over a 3-month period.
It's the sugar. There's way too much out there, way too much. And almost every food, at least once you go into the processed route, has some sort of added sugars into it.
Exactly.
And a lot of it's not natural fructose. It's high fructose corn syrup.
Exactly.
It takes
like
so much
spaghetti
longer.
sauce. Why is spaghetti sauce so sweet? It shouldn't be.
When I was taking some of my kinesiology and nutritional classes at UNLV, one of my professors always said to watch out for the sauces and the toppings. Yep. Those are like the primary predators when it comes to becoming overweight, because there's so much stuffed sugars in there.
Exactly.
It's terrible. That's why I stick to hot sauce. It's zeros all around.
Yeah. And hot sauce, you can have this hot sauce or you can have that hot sauce, and it just runs the gamut, and it's all very, very flavorful as opposed to just red hot chili peppers.
I've heard that hot foods also increase your metabolic rate as well. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that on a number of occasions.
I don't doubt that it does do that, because when you eat super, super hot things, you start to sweat. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure your heart starts to race. Okay? But I don't know very many people who eat that much hot sauce to do that.
You're looking at one of them.
Okay. Well, then you need to go to one of the Indian restaurants and have one of their top hot meals, because they'll give it to you for free if you eat it.
Sign me up. I like the more hot, the better. I just went and got Thai. I got number 10, and I was like, do you guys have hot sauce too? Like,
oh my gosh. Okay. That's a little much for me, but okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a big peppers person too, but I like the taste of hot foods, but like I said, I've also heard that it increases your metabolic rate. And I know your metabolic rate has so much importance to longevity. And there was not much information on it coming up to maybe the last 10 years or so. And you start seeing a lot more emphasis on it. I just went and worked out at one of my friend's house. His name's Matt Emerson. He's a trainer. And I got on his scale, and it takes, like your body mass percentage. It also takes your metabolic rate. I don't know how accurate it is on that to do it.
I've never seen anything like that.
It was you step on the scale. Yeah, it has the electrodes that go through your body, and it gives you your metabolic or age of your metabolic rate. Mine said 24, and I was like, I don't know how accurate that is, but that's awesome.
That's pretty good. That's really, really pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to live forever. So
okay, well, the way to do it is keep your mind going and keep it always open and learning.
Yes. That's it's funny how we used to always make fun of the older generation for doing Sudokus.
I can't do it.
But that's how you keep your mind sharp.
I can't do not even one column on a Sudoku. And I have 86-year-olds who do 5, 6, 10 a day. And they stay very, very young.
Yeah, mental sharpness is key. And we've seen the emphasis on mental health more increasingly since the pandemic has started, as we've seen that we're social creatures, and being locked away for 2 months when we were on the quarantine, people were not doing well, and we need stimulation. I know it's a health pandemic. I know everything that surrounds it as well, but you see that our minds are basically it's like an organic computer, and it controls our body, and our body acts in response to our minds.
Absolutely. And just to add an extra bit more color from my point of view concerning like this pandemic and everything, I see it as we were given time to work on things that we needed for ourselves, not other people, but for ourselves, to be better, feel better, do better, think better. And sometimes it's easier to work on other people's issues and other people's concerns versus our own. And so a lot of times I ask my client, what's wrong with taking care of yourself? Because when you take care of yourself, you're able to take care of others even better. And I know that as a caregiver for my mother and others in my family who have been really, really ill, that if I don't take the 5 or 10 minutes every single day to make sure and check in that everything feels right in my body, my mind, my heart, everything, I can't give out to the people I love. Same thing with massage. If I don't check in with me and clear out all the gunk that may be going through my head or my body and all that, I can't be present and work on a body. And there have been times where I've canceled on a client, and they've understood that, because I've said, listen, I can come and do a massage and it's not going to feel the same, or let's do it tomorrow because I have a stomach ache, I don't feel well, whatever the case may be, but I won't be fully present. And that's what massage requires, for you to be fully present so that you can feel all the things that you need to feel.
So what kind of mental and physical preparations do you do in order to get in that state of presence of now, I guess, beforehand?
I have 4 rescued fur babies.
Congrats.
And they're my biggest teachers for staying present, unconditional love, and dealing with what needs to be dealt with at this point in time. So if let's say I've had a bad moment, or things aren't going really, really well, I'll just lay out on the couch with them, and they'll bring me back to center, pet them a little bit, treats, whatever the case may be, drink some water, and then I'm good to go.
It's nothing like some animal loving that'll bring you right back into the present state. It's happiness. Absolutely. It's pure bliss.
It's pure bliss, and it's happiness. That's what it is.
That's why I love animals, because they can never tell you about any bad time. They just express it through their face that they're living in the moment.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's hard for us to live in the moment with everything going on, and social media kind of just can push your mind in one direction down a rabbit hole and kind of get lost.
And that's when you work on saying no. Okay, I don't want to go there because it doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, it's tough. It's that addiction, the release of dopamine when you get those notifications. It's what brings people back. It's an endless cycle.
It is. But we have, unlike many other species in this world, we have the power to say no. It's just, we think it's harder. But once you've said no once, it gets easier and easier and easier. And if the reasoning for you to say no at this time actually benefits you and benefits people around you overall, it's not a bad thing.
It's about being conscious.
And awake.
Ooh, there we go. We're going to dive into the spiritual realm.
Yep.
I'm interested. What's your opinion on consciousness and spirituality?
when it comes to spirituality, I believe that there are energies around us that help us and guide us with whatever path we're on. And I really do feel, and I've told this to a lot of people, that, you know, when I walk into a room with a client, I walk in with 5 people. And they look at me like, what 5 people? And I said, well, I always feel that my father's around. And my father was a doctor. I always feel as if my oldest brother is around too. And he was a doctor. I always feel that my godmother is around. And she was a fine musician and also believed in like energies above and beyond. I feel that my paternal grandmother's around because she's just such a happy person. And she believed in Chinese medicine. And then I believe that my second oldest brother's around, you know, guiding me too. So sometimes if you see me close my eyes and you're like, oh, that feels good. It's like, I always say to people, it's not me doing it, they're leading me. So that's one thing on the spirituality side. And as far as consciousness is concerned, when I worked on Wall Street, I always said to people, I got to put myself on autopilot because that's the only way I can survive. Autopilot is just thoughtless action. You just do this just to get through. You just do it to get through. But you don't know, why are you doing this? Even if it's hurting you, you don't know why you're doing this, right? So I'm a big proponent now of conscious living. Why am I doing this? Does this serve me? Does this serve others? Is it good? And just asking that question and taking a pause just adds years to your life as opposed to taking away life from you, because you really enjoy and relish every moment.
It sounds like it's a combination of purposelessness living, where you just, like you said, you're on autopilot, just going through the moment. Everything is mechanical and robotic. And you don't enjoy it. It's stressful.
It's very stressful.
Is that one of the reasons why you left Wall Street? I know Wall Street gets a lot of flack for being this mindless organism that has no empathy for anyone in the world, and it's just kind of like moves fast and breaks things and kind of has this very negative stigma towards them. Is that one of the reasons why you left there?
No, actually there are 2 reasons. One reason. First of all, I loved my time on Wall Street. I learned a lot. I worked with some of the brightest minds in the world, still are the brightest minds in the world, who've gone on to run companies and all this other kind of stuff. I learned a ton in a short period of time, and I learned a lot about myself and traveled the world. Okay. I left it because life had a different path for me. And what do I mean by that? Every time I left a job, by 30 minutes after resigning, I had 4 job offers. And that happened for decades. I got to a point where I didn't get those 4 job offers, and I got sick. And when I got sick, it gave me time, pre-pandemic, to really think about what's happening in my life. Why am I doing this? So I had this huge pause button that was put on me, even though I was sitting there screaming, why is this happening to me? When I actually stopped and calmed down, it was because there was another path being built for me. And this is the path I'm on now.
Do you feel like you were being guided by those 5 figures?
Absolutely. Every step of the way. And when you sit down and you get really, really quiet, you get messages. You know, like every once in a while you have a fleeting thought. Well, for me, that's not unusual. We all get fleeting thoughts that are just like momentary, like a little zit across your mind. Most people would say, that's full of shit or whatever. But I started listening to it. And when I started listening to it, it led me from here to here to here to here. And I just kept following the rocks along the way. And a door opened up and a door opened up and another door. So you get confirmation along the way.
It's not always a coincidence either.
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in Steve Jobs' famous Stanford quote where he talks about it's easy to retroactively connect the dots looking back, but going forward, you have to believe that they're going to connect.
You have to believe. That's number one. And there's a lot of blind faith in what you do. And I said this to a friend the other day. I said, you know what? Many a times in my life, I've been on the edge of a cliff, and it required me to believe that I could jump off and fly, okay? And I said to him, like last week, I said, now I'm on a precipice again of doing good and better for the community that I serve. And I said, but this time, he goes, why is it different this time? I said, because this time I actually felt behind me and I actually felt my wings. So all it required me the last few times was for me to reach back and feel for them and for confirmation, and I never did, but this time I did. And I feel big, huge eagle wings.
It's awesome. I feel like spirituality is very important to massage therapy and a few of these other modalities because I've gone to a few massages, and every time you go into that room or when a massage therapist comes and sets up, they play their own music. They have the different candles burning or the different spiritual salt rocks or whatever is very important and intimate to the person who's performing.
Right.
You're in basically their spiritual domain.
Right.
And they're setting up around it. And you can feel that when you're laying on the table, and then it's translated through your body into theirs.
Absolutely.
It's really
called
cool.
the power of intention. You know, they intend to move your energies and your muscles so that they find the correct alignment.
And so when you're performing the intentionality of massage therapy, are there different types of massages that you perform, and what are the different intentions of those as well? I'm sure it's not just like a one say all type method.
I read the body as best as I can visually. You know, I listen to what the client's saying to me, and then I look at their movement to look for clues as to, you know, where the hitches are and what's happening. My main modality is called Myofascial Release, taught by John F. Barnes, because in that modality, it's a very, very light touch, but in the right place that starts to move the connective tissue, otherwise known as fascia, and starts to release the body from whatever restriction it's in. So I start off with myofascial release, and then I might do a little bit of cranial-sacral work, and that's work from your cranium down to your sacrum, just moving the fluids up and down your spine. And then I'll do some other deep tissue work depending upon what I feel after I've done some myofascial release as well as cranial-sacral.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you need a massage from me.
Oh, 100%. Sign me up. It's been a while.
You'll never go back to somebody else once I work on you.
I like that you said that it's a soft touch, because when you think about massage therapy, most of the time you just think of, deep tissue massage. I think that's probably the most popular one, at least in the terms of the image that surrounds massage therapy. But there's so many different muscle groups, and they all need specific attention to them.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's people feel like they're getting their money's worth if, you go hard or go home sort of thing. I don't bruise people. Okay. And if let's say there's a particular area, even if I touched it lightly and just held that, I could leave a thumbprint just by touching it lightly because it's that delicate. Okay. I do appropriately deep tissue. Okay. It's not something that I want you to flinch on or to tighten up, because if you do that, then I've gone too deep. So I usually speak to a client and have us go layer by layer, pressure, added on pressure, one step at a time, so that they are very, very comfortable. And in that way, I could go deeper than most deep tissue people, I feel.
What were the decisions and kind of the thinking behind confiding into these specific methods? I'm sure when you went through school, you were probably shown and practiced probably hundreds of different methods. What resonated with these few specific ones with you that helped you find your home within these methods?
Well, these two gentlemen were physical therapists and osteopaths.
What's osteopath?
Somebody who works with bones. They're not really chiropractors. There's a difference, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is between a chiropractor and osteopath. Okay. But an osteopath studies like an MD would, like a GP would. Okay, I don't know if a chiropractor does that in that same way. But he was an osteopath and also a physical therapist. And that they found that within their own professions, it didn't provide the necessary answers to all the ailments that were coming on their table. So they went and researched and did their own thing. And after 50 years, it's highly accepted. Why myofascial release and cranial-sacral? Because when I use those type of modalities, I'm able to feel, see, and understand from where the pain originates. And what we say in massage therapy usually is where you feel the pain is not the origin of the pain. Sometimes you have to look elsewhere. So I could be working on a client's neck because it's really, really tight. And he'll say to me, "Why is my big toe throbbing?" I'll put his head down. I'll go to his big toe and I'll gently tug at it. It'll crack and it releases his neck. So it's for things like that I find to be so fascinating with myofascial release, because as far as fascia is concerned, everything is connected. And since everything is connected, you can't do just one thing. You have to really understand what the body's telling you.
It's just like spirituality, just like the body, just like the universe. Everything's interconnected.
It tells you what it needs. And myofascial release with John Barnes, in his classes, he teaches you, follow it. What do you need to do? This, that, and everything else. And it's a much more interesting take on massage. And it actually, I've had a lot of good success with it. So when it's right and people are not in pain, you keep going.
How long have you been practicing as a massage therapist?
I've been practicing this Halloween 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I like Halloween as a anniversary date.
I just like Halloween as a holiday.
Yeah. Hopefully we have one this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, it might be canceled, but
yep.
I hear not that many kids even trick or treat nowadays, anyways, which is unfortunate.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing.
It's the best thing. It's like, how many pounds of candy did you come back with this time?
Oh, controversial statement, but I'm actually a big fan of candy corn.
I love candy corn. But the only time I eat it is during Halloween.
Yes, exactly.
So then I don't eat it all year.
Yep.
Just like for Easter, I love
Peeps.
licorice Easter eggs. The only time I eat it is during Easter.
Yeah, that's how I feel with Peeps as well. Those are also controversial as well, but stale Peeps, not the fresh ones.
Okay, it's all good.
I'm a weirdo like that, but I don't eat that much sugar. But when I do, it tends to be a lot. So I try to reserve it just for cheat day meals.
That's fine. Moderation is good.
Moderation is very good, very, very good. But also, I didn't state this in the beginning, but you are a traveling massage therapist, correct?
I'm a mobile medical massage therapist, yes.
And it seems like now with everything going mobile and digital, you've been kind of set into the right position as far as where society is progressing in forms of being mobile.
Yes, and in fact, in about a week or so, I have a group of people who are going to be joining me in my practice.
Really?
Yes, they're going to be joining me in my practice. So we will be a group of mobile massage therapists under Flow Massage Therapy, and we'll be headquartered at a place called Las Hawaii Mansions. We have space there. But we go to people's homes, we go to hotel rooms, etc., and we follow all COVID-19 rules.
What are those COVID-19 rules?
Basically wearing a mask, and that the client has to wear a mask, the client taking a shower, cleaning, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. You'd think with COVID, it's still such a touchy subject with a lot of people, and there's still a lot of misinformation that surrounds it. So it's really hard to know. But sanitation is primary.
Sanitation is key. I'm very sanitary in everything that I do. I clean off everything. So some of these COVID-19 rules were like, okay, no problem whatsoever. So if other people were not so sanitary, it just forces them to do that. And it's a safety issue, because I work with the elderly. So if I have a client who maybe is not as compliant, I may choose not to work with them momentarily, okay, for the sake of my elderly clients. And so, I have a group of people, and we all agree this is the way we need to treat people, move forward, expand our knowledge of massage, etc. And I think it's really the right time for just in-home massage therapy.
Outside of obviously that you're growing and you're going to need a headquarters, are there any main differences you notice when you're performing at, let's say, an HQ massage therapy business or traveling to the homes? Do you notice any sort of, let's say, like philosophical differences or the way that you perform or anything that's maybe intangible that surrounds it?
No, not really, because the best thing about going into people's homes is you know how they live, okay? You know how they move in their home. You know how they feel. This is their secure place. So if I feel them jittery or I feel, something like that is a little bit off, then, that's an indication of something that you need to address, whether it's getting them really, really comfortable really fast or asking about pain, where is it, and dealing with all of that. I think it's a benefit, quite honestly, to be able to work in people's environment because you see so much more.
They're probably much more relaxed at home as well.
They should be more relaxed. And if they're not relaxed, then you'll deal with it on the table. But it's all good. I think it's just all information about their lives and how their body reacts to that life.
Interesting. Yeah, we've seen now with remote working becoming more popular too. A lot of businesses are saying that they have a huge amount of increased productivity from their employees because everyone's at home, and it reduces commuting time and a lot of stress that surrounds it. So it's funny that that philosophy's been kind of switched in the matter of a few months that society kind of tried to push against for so long?
You know, my massage therapists, the group that we work with at Flow, they're happy because they work a certain number of hours or a little bit more, and then they have their free time. When they worked at large institutions, they would have to, let's say they would work 32 hours a week, but they're standing around an extra 15 hours waiting for that 32 hours. Here, when I schedule them for a client, they go in, they come out. They know that that's the 2 hours they're going to do. And then maybe 2 hours later, they're going to do another one. And then they're going to do another one. They're going to do another one. If they do 2 hours in one day, that's a great day. And maybe they do their errands in between. It's all good.
Freedom, flexibility, and intentionality.
That's basically it. I said to them, financial freedom, freedom for time, freedom to study, freedom to do the things you want, and also knowing that if you wanted to go on vacation, you weren't going to lose your job.
It's important.
It's all really important. So it's good.
Since you're opening up a HQ, do you have some sort of preventative measures for that kind of situation arising at your HQ where the massage therapists are kind of just standing around wasting time?
They won't be standing around wasting time.
That's good.
They won't be. Okay. They're scheduled like 3 days a week and 8 to 9 hours. That's it.
That's good. I think the 40-hour work week's broken.
It's people work quality time, not quantity time. Yeah. So if they do 10 great massages, if I do 10 great massages a week and I get paid for it, I'm happy. More time with my dogs, more time to do volunteer work, more time to do other things that enrich me as a person.
Triathlons. Did triathlons come before or after getting into massage therapy?
Before massage therapy. I actually got into triathlon because when I moved to Seattle briefly after New York, it seemed like the only way I could meet people was I had to work out with them. So, it's like, do you want to meet for coffee? Sure, but I'll see you in cycling class and then we'll go. So if I didn't show up for cycling class, we weren't going to go. Or, sure, I'm going for a bike ride. Let's go up and down the Burke-Gilman Trail. Up and down, part of it is like 50 miles. So,
oh boy.
So, there's this one ride where it's all along the water up in Seattle and stuff, and it's beautiful around the pathways of the University of Washington and all that. And it's 25 miles out. There's a beer and burger joint, and then 25 miles coming back. So it's great because I usually would speed up 3 miles before we got to the burger joint because I could smell the barbecuing burgers. But it was slower on the ride back.
Interesting.
But that's how I got into it. And then,
How many triathlons did you compete in?
I've competed probably in about 20. But no, I haven't done an Ironman. I've only done 3 half Ironmen as a relay member. So
how many miles is an Ironman?
Oh Jesus. It's 26.2 miles of a marathon. It's 115 miles of a bike ride, and it's a 2.4 mile swim. Oh. All in the same day, under 18 hours. Yeah. So I've only done the swimming portion. I've done the running portion.
What kind of training regimen do you have to go through in order to compete on something on that magnitude?
Well, on a half Ironman, I had to train probably 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week.
And this is a combination of nutrition, physical working out, cardio.
It's a combination of outdoor training, indoor weights, and nutrition and hydration.
Do you have a coach for this?
I had, for a while, I had Frank Lowry, and he used to coach swimming out at the Multi-Gen in Henderson, as well as other things. And then he was also the founder of Silverman, which was the half Ironman and Ironman event here. I coached with him for a while, but then, you know, you run into the same people on the road, and you end up sort of like morphing in with them.
You got like a gang.
Yeah, and you train with them, and so you don't really need a coach in that way.
That's cool. They're probably more experienced too, so you could get some tips from them, or you guys could share everything with each other.
Absolutely. Now, if I was ever to go for an Ironman, which I plan on doing sometime in the near future, I'll definitely get a coach. You know, because that's a 24/7 event.
Ultra endurance athletes, such a different mindset, and you see that's kind of come into the limelight of mainstream through David Goggins.
Yes.
Are you aware who he is?
Yes, he is amazing. I saw a video of him swimming in open water, and as the drone panned out, I could see more and more ocean, no land, more and more ocean, and far in the distance was a submarine. And I was like, that guy is amazing. It's just amazing.
It seems like that's probably one of the toughest mental hurdles to go through is ultra endurance, because you're constantly, all it is just you out there. Like you just said with David Goggins, it's just you talking to yourself, just like, go, 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 go. I got this, even though you're exhausted.
The mind is an amazing tool and an amazing muscle. So imagine that David Goggins is telling himself that. So now imagine that your body is going through some major illness, and you have to talk to yourself and your body to help heal it. And that's where miraculous things happen.
And you've seen people's cancer like disappear.
Absolutely, because what you think is what your body will replicate.
It's true. When I was taking my kinesiology classes, there was a study about how two different variable groups were given a chocolate bar and a salad, but the calorie nutritional label was switched on it, and the different people process the body differently based off of what they thought the actual calorie content was.
Absolutely.
With the carbs and sugars.
Absolutely.
So fascinating.
If this is a good read, it's called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, and how you can change your thought, you change your mind, you change your body. And he's the father of epigenetics.
The Biology of Belief.
The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics. It's the science of rewiring the software of your genes. So if you tell your body, oh, I'm sick, I'm so sick, I'm just so sick, and you say that every single day, you will get sick. But you have seen people on their deathbeds who actually will themselves to be alive because they believe in all of that. And physically, they start to change. There's another person who I've been studying with, and I'm going to a seminar in January for a week. His name is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And
he's Spartan Race, right? He's the one that created Spartan Race?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No, he's a chiropractor, neuroscientist, neurophysiologist who talks about the brain and how it connects to everything else in the body, and how through meditation we're able to put ourselves in a state of healing and can further that process faster than just walking around. It's real science, just like Dr. Bruce Lipton. It's real science, proven, researched, there it is.
That's why I find it so fascinating, is because we know that it works, but the underlying mechanisms we're still so uncertain of. Like, we haven't even been able to map the entire brain, or like we're just getting to the near edge of that, and we still don't know where thoughts are derived from, and there's so much uncertainty that still surrounds it.
It's true, but if it works, why not? And if it doesn't cost you money, what are you waiting for? And, you asked me a question about, is it just the pharmaceutical industry or this, that, or anything else? I just think that people sometimes don't believe unless they have to pay. And people sometimes don't believe if it's not hard. And sometimes people don't believe if it's not a pill, because those things represented something to them. But when you look at them and say, hey, it's free, you just have to sit here and just hang your arm out. That's it. And when you hang your arm out, you're stretching your pec, you're stretching your neck and all of that, so that neck ache that you were feeling will go away. And they're like, okay. And they question all of that. So that's when I realized, oh, you want to pay me to pull your arm out. Okay, fine. I'll do that.
It's just like it's too good to be true.
Exactly. But sometimes I always like to keep things really simple, because then it's more universally understood as opposed to putting too much mumbo jumbo behind it.
Yep, that's kind of where the world that we're in now is, the complexity of everything that surrounds it, and that's what causes a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
A lot of different engineering that surrounds it.
Agreed.
It's something that, and I'm sure that you've probably experienced this as well. You've seen of the complexity that surrounds the financial system, and that's what prevents a lot of people of having financial literacy behind it, because there's a lot that goes on behind, different private groups and hedge funds. And, now we see with the Federal Reserve printing money and Keynesian economic systems. There's a lot of complexities that surround it.
It's a lot easier than people think.
Really?
It is. Every industry has their own little mumbo jumbo, from the lawyers to the doctors to the financiers to the engineers. They all have their own little mumbo jumbo words and acronyms to, I'd say, make it sound like they're doing more than what it is. Okay? And if you break everything down, and I love doing this, somebody will stand there and go, blah, 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 blah. And I stand there and go, what does that mean? And then they pause, because it's something that they have habituated and used as a word, but they don't really understand that word. So when you stop them and you ask them, what does that mean? They really have to think and try to explain themselves. And I love doing that to people, to see, do you really understand what you're saying? And does what you're saying make sense? And I think that people can go into financial advisors, people can go into their bank, just ask the simple question, where is my money? Where did you put it? How much do I get back? Is it secure there? Who's securing it? What are you doing with it? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that is at the most basic form, how to.
And you know what? If I couldn't answer those basic questions, yeah, you should fire me. And if others can't answer that question, you should fire them too, because they're not telling you everything you need to know.
It's true.
I mean, seriously. I mean, you go into In-N-Out Burger and you say, I want this, 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 and that. And they're going to give you this, 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 and that. And you see how they do it. You see where it comes from, all this stuff. Okay? They're not trying to hide anything. Everything's wide open. Same thing with the legal profession, the medical profession, finance, everything.
But when it comes to finance, why do you think people have such a hard time understanding the concept of the entire system? Do you think, if it is that simple, do you think they're just asking the wrong questions, or they don't know what questions to specifically ask?
I think it's because they're so used to trusting others, they don't trust themselves. Okay? Because if you were to go into a car dealership and you wanted to buy a car, you'd be asking a whole lot of questions, right? So if you're interviewing somebody to manage your life, meaning your money, you should equally ask the same sort of questions. What are you going to do for me? That's the most basic.
It is. It's true.
Okay. And sometimes I think we're embarrassed to ask those questions because, well, Jane goes to him and Jack goes to him and I should go to him and all that kind of stuff. Well, a lot of people went to him and left money there, and Bernie Madoff was a crook. Okay.
The biggest one out there.
And one of the biggest ones out there. And people didn't do their homework. They just did it because other people did it.
So not enough self-research, and a little bit more.
It's just trusting yourself. This is your hard-earned money. Why would you just give it to somebody? You know?
That's in today's society. I think now that the world's become a little bit more individualized through different mechanisms and more specifically through social media, there's a need of importance to just really look in depth into whatever field you're going into. Like you said, whether it's finance or whatever prescriptions your doctor may be prescribing you, what kind of food you're putting into your body, and not just trust what you see, because it's not always what you see, it's what you get.
Exactly. And if you're paying for it, why wouldn't you want the best for yourself? And that's basically it. Not being pushed around by the opinions of others in social media, because a lot of people in social media have no clue of what they're talking about. They're just a face spouting off a whole bunch of crap. You know, look to the background of the people you follow. Do they really have the expertise? Or are they just a talking head? And that's really key.
The talking heads is something, that's one of the reasons why I went into podcasting, is because I didn't like what I was hearing from the talking heads.
Yeah,
and
it's not right.
And that they're just paid to say things. And you see that even when they're not a talking head, but then they're actually a little bit more humanized on like a different podcast, and they talk about how they're just being paid to say these things. And that really turned a switch for me. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. So, you know, when people ask me what I read, you know, it's very different than the general media. But
where do you generally go looking for news when it comes to massage therapy and health?
I actually read science journals. I read a lot of books by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton. I'm reading a book called Breath. It's all about breathing by James Nader. I'm reading a lot of text on myofascial release. I'm reading about the history of astrology, which is fascinating. I go everywhere. And I might have 20 books on my table, but I'm reading a chapter here, a chapter here, a chapter here. And by the end of the year, I'll read them all. And it's because one chapter leads me into thinking a different way about something. Then I go over there, and then I go over there. Oh, and I have one cookbook. So it's all meant to be together. And that cookbook is by the woman Samin Nosrat, who did on Netflix Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat.
Oh, yeah, that was a popular one.
She's great. So her cookbook is just a book about how to put things together and the freshness of this, that, and everything else. So, yeah, when I talk to clients about, well, it takes me so long to cook, and I said, you can do it under 20 minutes. Freshness is under 20 minutes. And so I use a lot of her principles in telling them, this is how I put something together.
That's what always got me is fast food isn't actually fast. And from going out and waiting in line in the drive-through to getting it and bringing it home and eating it to where you can just take, a few steps to your kitchen and prepare it. You probably would have prepared it and eaten your food by the time you would have to go out, get the food and come back.
It's the same amount of time, if not less. And it's fresher.
It's that habit that has to be broken.
And it's also financially more affordable. The only time I go out to eat is when there's something that somebody else makes better than me. So that to me is worth it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I spend maybe $50 a week in groceries, and that gets me 3 meals a day throughout the entire week.
You can't go wrong with that. Whereas if you went out, it'd be $50 a meal.
Exactly. Yeah. Go to one, all you can eat sushi. It's $35 right there.
Yep.
Tip and tax and everything like that. And
yep.
You're not getting as much freshness. Well, sushi's fresh, but a lot of these other places.
But you can go to like a Korean place and get a nice piece of sushi and cut it up yourself, and it's just as fresh.
Yeah. That's where everything comes circled back, is that at the end of the day, you have to focus on what you want and what you need, and do, as we like to say in the crypto community, DYOR, which is do your own research.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. Well, Jenn, this was a fabulous conversation. Very encouraged and motivated. I always ask 2 questions on the way out.
What?
First one is, the year is 2030. What does the life of Jenn T look like?
Oh my God. 2030, what does the life of Jenn T look like? Absolutely fabulous. First of all, I'll be on a large piece of property with probably 25, 30 rescue animals. And still massaging, by the way. Still massaging, but with a little bit more time to read, spend time in nature, finally complete my Ironman, and to teach what I know to others.
That's your theme that I've noticed throughout this entire conversation, is that you really want to give back and help everyone else.
Always. Always.
I love that. Last question is, what does Las Vegas mean to you?
You know what? Las Vegas has meant a lot to me in personal growth and opportunity. I've learned that as I've found my ways around the community, which started off by volunteering with, rescue animals and stuff like that, I've found different interesting pockets of communities here that are absolutely amazing. And let me give you one example. New York City, where I lived for over 25 years, Seattle, where I lived for 7 years, you'd think that they'd be meccas for holistic work on the body, etc. Well, in comparison to what I have run into here in Las Vegas, they're nothing. We're really cutting edge. We really have a very interesting community of healthcare workers that are non-traditional, that are fantastic. That's number one. And as far as the opportunity, growth from, and then opportunity, is that the openness and willingness of the community to say, yes, we'll try, has always been amazing to me.
Vegas is very good at tearing old things down and building what's next at it. We see that things are obsolete and we don't want it to hang around. We honor it. We usually move it to some sort of museum or something and then rebuild and move on to what's next.
Exactly.
That's one of the beautiful aspects of it. Where can all of the listeners get connected with you and Flow Massage Therapy?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Flow Massage Therapy LLC, and my logo is this huge blue swoosh of water. I have a website, www.flowmassagetherapyllc.com. I'm also on Instagram. That's where all my clients' pets are too. And for Instagram, it's contact_flow.
Beautiful. I'll make sure that all of that is tagged in the show notes as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jen, thank you for this. This was amazing, beautiful. I love the spirituality. I could feel it throughout this entire conversation.
Hopefully in the whole room.
In the whole room, I feel everyone here.
Good.
So thank you again. Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next time.